Play and share. Two words that I have heard since childhood. I grew up in Eagleville, Tennessee, a small rural town about 45 minutes outside of Nashville. In fact, I went to the same school from kindergarten to the 12th grade for 13 years and only graduated with 32 other people in my senior class. There are advantages to growing up in a small rural town, or as those of us who live there like to say, country. Because we grew up in the country, my backyard was more than 50 acres of wooded area that had rocks to sit on, trees to climb, and creeks to cross. There was always an adventure waiting to happen. And I know that my mother appreciated this because she constantly reminded me and my sister that we needed to go outside and play, especially during the summer months when it was like 150 degrees. We know that Tennessee gets really hot and humid, and that's when our mom wanted us outside the most. She would encourage us to go outside and play by bringing home different toys for us. I remember her bringing home a couple of hula hoops once. At night, she gave us a net and said, "Go outside and catch some bugs. Put them in a jar. Let's see how many you can catch." But I will never forget the day she brought home a pogo ball. There are some looks of confusion, and I'm assuming that many of us don't even know what a pogo ball is. It's not a pogo stick, so let me explain. It's essentially two kickballs stacked on top of one another with a plastic disc in between. And you would stand on the plastic disc and then bounce around all over the place. It might sound foolish, and I'm sure I look equally as foolish bouncing around up here, but if you were a child in the 1980s, a pogo ball is exactly what you wanted. So imagine how excited both my sister and myself were when our mom gave us one. She gave us one, not two. Immediately, we started arguing over who would get to bounce on the pogo ball first. And just as my mom was walking inside, she turned around and looked and said, "Hey, play nice, and don't forget to share." Play nice, and don't forget to share. This is a phrase that I've carried with me throughout my entire life, and I've applied it in multiple situations, not only as a child when sharing toys with my sisters and my friends, but also as an adult. In fact, I think that playing and sharing is one of the best ways that we can learn about our interests and prepare for our futures. Let me explain. I taught high school for 7 years. In 2006, I met Zach. Zach was a freshman in one of my classes, and from day one, he was a joy to have in class. He had a great personality. Everyone really enjoyed him. He was intelligent, always engaged, and just a lot of fun to be around. In fact, I had Zach in class all 4 years of high school, and when he graduated in 2010, I was not surprised that he announced he would attend Georgia State University. But I will admit I was somewhat caught off guard when he indicated that his major would be accounting. Zach never took an accounting class in high school. In fact, I didn't even know that he enjoyed math. Less than a year later, in the spring 2011, Zach called and said, "Mr. Mosley, I hope that you're not disappointed, but I'm dropping out of college. I'm going to get a job." Of course, I asked why, and he explained, the classes weren't that hard, but I got to tell you, accounting, it's boring. I'm not interested in it. So naturally, I asked them, "Why did you choose accounting as a major in the first place?" And Zach said, "Because I heard I could make a lot of money doing that." He was motivated to choose that major because he thought he could make a lot of money, but he had no interest in accounting at all. True story. Back in December, I got a call from Zach, so less than 3 years later, and he said, "Hey, Mr. Mosley, I know it's been a long time. I really should have caught you up between now and then, but I need your address, and I need your phone number, and I also need your email address." And I said, "Zach, what are you planning?" And he said, Don't worry. You might get a call for a background check." Zach is now in the United States Navy, training to be a nuclear engineer. How do you go from a college dropout to becoming a nuclear engineer? So here's what happened. Zach got a job at a local retail store selling electronics, and part of his training required that he take electronic equipment apart, disassemble it, reassemble it so that he understood how it worked, and then put it back together so that when he was selling equipment to customers, he could explain the process to them. Through playing around with different electronics, Zach became fascinated with how they were engineered and discovered a passion that he did not know existed. In the small high school where I taught, we did not offer engineering classes, so this was something that Zach had never been exposed to. But because he was given the opportunity to play, he discovered an interest that he is now making his career. When we play, we can discover passions that we did not know that we have. When we play, we learn. This isn't only my idea. In fact, this notion of playing to learn is grounded in education theory. Let me explain to you the experiential learning model by a prominent education theorist, Kolb. Kolb explains that there are 4 cycles in experiential learning, the first being a concrete experience. Second, reflective observation. The third cycle would be abstract conceptualization, ending with active experimentation. According to Kolb, each time we have an experience, we watch, we learn, we find something new. And then after we have that experience, we should reflect on the things that we observed or the things that we saw. And upon reflection, we make connections with things that we already knew, our prior knowledge, and things that we have just learned, and we form new concepts or thoughts or ideas or notions. That moves us to active experimentation. We take these new ideas that we have and we test them out, or as I like to say, we play. And every time we play during active experimentation, we have a new experience. And after we have a new experience, we observe and then we reflect. And after reflecting, we form a new concept. And after we have this new concept, we play again and have a new experience. Observe, reflect, new concept, play, new experience. Observe and reflect, a new concept, test it out, play. And the cycle continues, continues, continues. And we never stop learning unless we stop at abstract conceptualization. If we are not given the opportunity to play with the new ideas or the thoughts that we have, then we might not discover what our passions are. So we should play. But what happens when we play? Now, I've been working in high schools with teenagers for almost 20 years now, and I really enjoy it, but I can tell you one thing that annoys me is when people who don't work with teenagers underestimate them. And it happens quite often. So I'd like to share with you a story about a 17-year-old boy named Robert Heft. Robert Heft grew up in Ohio, and I'm curious, show of hands, who knows who Robert Heft is? I'm not surprised that I don't see every hand up in this audience, but I'm probably getting ahead of myself. So let's do a little history lesson. We all recognize this image here on the screen. It's the American flag. 13 stripes, 50 stars, and we learn about this at a very early age. If you know the answer to my next question, please shout it out. Who is credited for designing the American flag? Betsy Ross, of course, Betsy Ross. Matter of fact, I've been to the Betsy Ross house in Philadelphia, saw the rocking chair that she sat in as she stitched away at those stars and stripes. Betsy Ross designed the original American flag, but not this one. Here's what happened. When the U.S. brought Hawaii and Alaska into the United States, we had to add 2 additional stars to the American flag to represent all 50 states. Now, previously, Congress had commissioned a well-renowned artist to update the flag as we had to add stars, but they decided to do something different this time. They made it a national competition for anyone who wanted to redesign the American flag and the configuration of the stars that would go on that flag. Now, as teachers sometimes do, we hear about things that occur in the news or pop culture, and we get this great idea that it would make an excellent class project. I see some heads nodding. We love those projects when it happens. Well, Robert Heft, his teacher was no different. His social studies teacher challenged her class to redesign the American flag. It was a class assignment. Robert Heft spent hours and hours at his mother's sewing machine, putting on those stripes, sewing on 50 stars, and turned it in. He was really proud of the work that he had done, and he received a grade of a B. Well, he didn't think that his flag deserved a B. In fact, Robert thought that his flag deserved the grade of A. So he pushed back against his teacher a little bit. She said, I'll tell you what. You know there's this national competition. If you think your flag is so good, send it to Congress. Let's see what they think. And if your flag is chosen as the new flag for the United States of America, then I'll give you the A that you think you deserve. So he did just that. And President Eisenhower chose 17-year-old Robert Hess's design for the American flag out of more than 1,500 entries. Robert had an idea that one person didn't necessarily like, but he chose to not accept that and decided to share his ideas with others. And because of that, this American flag is an image that is known across the world because one teenager decided to share. When we share our ideas with others, amazing things can happen. We know that we have many talented students here in Metro Nashville Public Schools who have a lot of ideas that are worth sharing. In fact, that's why we created this event today, the TedxNashvilleEd, to create a platform for our students' voices to be heard and to provide an opportunity for students in Nashville to share their ideas with others. So as we engage today and we listen to the talks, I challenge you to think about the ideas that exist in your head and how you could share them with others. Maybe you have an idea for a new invention. If so, build it and then show it. Perhaps there are some words that are running around in your head that you've been thinking that would make a really great song. Write that song and then sing it. Or maybe you enjoy spending time in the kitchen mixing ingredients that probably shouldn't go together, and you've created a new recipe that is amazing. Don't keep it to yourself. Serve it to your family, friends. Bring it to school. Your teachers would like to eat it too. When we play and share, we have the potential to unlock passions that we did not even know existed and discover interests that can shape the direction of our futures. You can do this. And today, we have 12 students who are. I hope you enjoy the 12 students that will be speaking today at the first ever TedxNashvilleEd.